page for all of the media collaborations that where we put there. And if you notice at the end of the day, there will be about 20 jobs that have been posted across the world that we're going to be putting up pretty soon after this. So make sure you connect there because that's where a lot of people are coming from. That's how we got Clifton out of his kitchen. So, yeah. Hey, Pam, I see you're coming aboard. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, guys. Everybody gets a little reunion. So, let's see. So we have a few shirts left. So I'm going to have to put that. You guys do a direct message to me if I don't have your address. Some of you already have your addresses, and we'll make sure you get those things. So welcome, everybody. Sharna, how was that birthday celebration? You know, you don't get to turn 21 every day.
Well, no, I really need you to understand this, Terry. Please. I am 17 and a half. Okay, please understand and get that right.
Oh, well, we're looking forward to you on our stage for City Men Cook in June.
Are we doing it live this year?
Oh, that's going to be up to the board. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We're growing, and we have some stuff there too. And I'd like to welcome one of my partners in crime, Brother David Tyson, all outside.
Hello, good brother. That's right. I got to take advantage of this vitamin D opportunity, man.
All you communicators and influencers, it's good to be here. We get started about 5:40, so we have about 2 minutes. Let me just give you the format. We're going to be talking to all of our friends here. So you guys got about 2 minutes to still openly chat and start texting each other and putting stuff in the chat. Welcome.
So we pay for these t-shirts?
The t-shirts go to the cost? But there is a cost. We'll get it to you. Now, how do you pronounce your name? Because it's an interesting spot.
My name?
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
It's Jacqueline. It used to be Williams. And then I got married to a guy from Gambia, and it's Jarju.
See that?
Sort of Senegalese. So it's full French. Jacqueline Jarju.
I love it.
Not Jaru. So many people call me Jaru. I was like, oh my God.
Have you spent any time in Ghana? Are you spending any time in Ghana?
Oh, in the Gambia.
Gambia.
It was the Gambia, yeah, the Gambia where Kunta Kinte.
Oh, I love Kunta Kinte.
Alex Haley. I actually went to that island, Jufere Island. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And you saw parts of the filming that they have, like where the forts and stuff were. They're still there. But the people are very, very poor. And I heard Alex Haley got the raw end of the deal. He didn't get a lot of money from that whole thing, which really changed the world. People started researching their ancestry because of that movie.
That's right.
And that book.
Ancestry.com.
Yeah. Yes. And and his actual ancestors are on that island. And they're living very poor. And I was just disgusted. You know, they used to have before the pandemic a Roots Festival, and that would be every other year. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
Hey, that's a great share. I appreciate you sharing all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're so happy. Go ahead, David.
No, I was just saying I wanted to get the pronunciation correctly because I've got a couple friends whom have been traveling back and forth to Ghana, and they were talking about how great Ghana was, and people that are African Americans, Black African Americans who live here that are moving to Ghana. So that's
Where I'm from, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it's so many people that have had houses and stuff traveling back and forth to Ghana since I was a little girl for maybe 40 years. And it's so weird how now it's the thing. I actually have a girlfriend who's been living there for over 30 years. So now she got her dual citizenship. She said she never bothered until now they have this year of return. So,
Yeah. Okay.
How is the pandemic there?
You know, actually, the African countries are doing much better than Europe and America because they could not afford for it to become, you know, a big thing there. They don't have the infrastructure. So they basically closed down everything. So the land borders closed down and everything, and heavy precautions. Jamaica is doing the same thing. So actually they're faring better than Europe and America.
I heard that too, and that Naomi, what's the actor, the model, Naomi, is it?
Naomi Campbell.
Naomi Campbell?
Yeah, that's where she's hanging out in Africa.
Oh, this is awesome.
Well, Stevie Wonder said he moving there.
He sure did. He sure did.
I'm going when he go. I'm a right there.
Is he moving to Ghana specifically? Or?
Yeah, he said he moving.
Okay.
He got
Said he's going to Ghana.
They go take him down the street and tell him that's where he is.
I have a client from Zambia, and she told me that they had to get it right, and they learned how to get it right through Ebola, having to contain and how to deal with that.
True too.
I'm sorry, Karen, if people can't show their face, can't speak. I'm sorry.
But she's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. And the casualties from Ebola, which and SARS, this is just another form of SARS. It was just so devastating.
Right.
So they're taking it seriously. Still in the Gambia, you can't drive anywhere. Totally landlocked. You can't, they shut down everything. And if you don't have that, just like if you fly anywhere, if you don't have that certain type of COVID test, 72 hours before they stick you somewhere for 2 weeks.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't say quarantine. They do stick you somewhere.
They stick you somewhere. I had a friend that was quarantined. He didn't listen to me. So he was quarantined in Dubai. He came from Nigeria.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started. But before we officially start, I want you guys to do something that's been very, very hard to master doing all the Zoom calls. I do about 4 or 5 Zoom calls a day, 7 days a week.
Oh my God,
I should have invested in the company. But before we get started on our program today and our gathering, this is very informal. It's informal, it's informative, it's engaging, it's enlightening, but it's culturally centered and it's very intentional. So we're very glad that you're here. So before we get started, I want all of you who've got your drinks to hold your drinks up. So Tony's going to do a screenshot.
I've got to go get one. I'm sorry.
Look at that. What you got there? Ginger beer. Okay, hold your drinks up. Tony, let us know you got this screenshot. Hold your drinks up.
Oh my.
Okay, how did you open that? If you can't read
So this is the happy hour. All right. Did you get the screenshot, Tony? Keep holding up.
No, hold on a second.
I don't know if that was first.
Hold your drinks up there. All right, Tony, we're waiting on you. All right,
I'm not sure if I got it. I tried this before and I didn't get it.
What do you have to press on a Mac to get it? I forget. What's it? Control what?
All right.
PRNT,
Huh?
or PRN, control PRN. I think it's it's the insert key on mine. There's a print screen underneath it.
All right. Well, I'm going to capture y'all. Hold your drinks one more time. I'll take it up here in my hands.
Okay.
Here we go. Gotcha. You can put those drinks down now. The other house rule I'd like to share is that learn how to do something that most of us adults haven't been doing. Control your mute. So when your grandmama or big mama come in the room, make sure we don't hear you talking to her, especially when she said you haven't eaten your chitlins. So we still want to know about it, okay? So make sure you look at your screen and also control the mute. But thanks everybody for being here. This is the Media Collaborative. We have members of NABJ and members of PRSA, NBPRS, entrepreneurs who are in marketing, PR, and we have esteemed guests. And this is where we exchange, empower, and move forward. I just want to give everybody a high five for us being so collectively great at what we've done, that we've gotten contracts with each other, we've gotten jobs, we've gotten things. A matter of fact, one of the most successful debuts we had with our friend Regina Taylor's Black Album mixtape was because of the work you guys done. And we're able to show that mixtape, and information about that tape appeared in almost 38 news outlets. And also the social media was amazing. So thank you for that. We're going to start recording so that we will save this and archive it. I'm going to change it to speaker view. Here's the housekeeping. And I want to, I'll introduce our speakers. We'll get our questions going. If you have a question, Tony's going to gather it in the chat. So make sure that you are putting it in the chat so that we can get there. Although this is informal, we want to make sure everyone has a level of participation. This is a happy hour, and we try to stick to that hour. So our format today is we're going to chat and engage with Regina. We're going to chat and engage with Linda. And we're going to hear from our esteemed board member, Chelsea Fuller, who is the NABJ Media Related Board Rep, and also then we're going to hear from you guys. So make sure that you're doing that. So if you're on speaker view, let Tony and Sherna and Linda stand up and show the shirts that you will be getting when you get the link. Just show off the shirts, y'all. Congratulations for wearing them. The shirt says social distancing does not mean social disengagement. Let's get engaged. All right, so everybody will get one of those as well when we have the link. Thank you guys for standing up. Let's just get started. First of all, I want to introduce someone I can honestly say, you know, I love it when we watch a lot of shows and people go, I want to introduce my friend. And, you know, they probably just met just 5 minutes before the show, but this time I can honestly say that this person has been a colleague, a friend, a warrior, an accomplice with me, a game changer, a community activist, and just about everything. And I've known her, we've known each other for at least four months. Just kidding. We've known each other since school. She's a member of my school. She's an alumni of my school, SMU, Southern Methodist University. And today I'm just proud to introduce Regina Taylor. And if those of you haven't known her amazing imprint, hold on, you guys, I got 4 people need to come into the room. Sorry about that. All right, here we come. Let's let these people in. Okay, here we go. Make sure you go on mute, please. As you come into the room, make sure you're muted.
We call these mass shootings, but maybe mass killings.
All right, Manny, let's make sure you're muted. Of course, Regina Taylor's imprint is all over the world. She's an actor, director, playwright, educator, active friend, alumni, and she's is Meadows Distinguished Visiting Artist and the Andrew Mellon Playwright in Residence at the Repertory Street Theater in St. Louis. It's a 3-year appointment with the National Playwright Residency Program established by Andrew Mellon Foundation and Howland Round Theater Commons. And I love the fact that she's working with that team there. She's the person that I always go to for creative input and her power. Her playwright credits include Bread, Crowns, which had 4 Helen Hayes Awards, for including Best Director, Trinity River Plays, Stop Reset, Drowning Crow. She's writing new plays that I'm sure she's going to talk about. She's featured in HBO's Lovecraft. I could go down the list. My favorite is, of course, I'll Fly Away, where she played Lily Harper. And then she guest starred on Council of Dads on NBC. And then The Red Line, produced by another friend of mine, Ava DuVernay. Her television roles includes The Unit. She was the first African-American lead in Masterpiece Theater's Chorus Unchained. And starred as Anita Hill in HBO's Strange Justice Award, was featured in Good Day to Die with Sidney Poitier, and she co-starred in USA Network's Dig. I am just proud to know that she's a part of our planet this time and living during my lifetime. Just to add a few film credits, Saturday Church, Clockers, Lean on Me, Courage Under Fire, and she's the first Black woman to play Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. They should have really renamed the name of the play after Regina's imprint was going. And today, we've circled back because we're working together on the Black Album mixtape. Let's talk about that. It's an invitation for collaborators from all fields, including the media, to explore and tackle the questions under the current moment of a national and international scale. I had shared in my column that we are in a moment that we need to maintain the momentum for it to be a movement. So please, please, please show your applause on screen for Regina Taylor. How are you, Regina?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you, Terry, for that warm welcome. Thank you all for all of your support.
We've had an amazing journey with the Black Album mixtape. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is, and then we'll get into some of the things that we can do with it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it started out as a play that was done online, rehearsed and done online this past fall at SMU. I started talking to SMU about how we continue to create, how we continue to teach during the time of COVID and shutdown. With that, I responded by writing this play called The Black Album Resistance 2020, the subject matter being what it is to be Black in 2020. It was then for the African-American students at Meadows School of the Arts to take on the issues from COVID-19 to George Floyd to the very incendiary race, political race, that then erupted with all of this fracturing, continued fracturing of this country. Is what the play was about. It was delivered online, and then continuing with the initiative, I wanted to turn over those issues, those subjects that we need to speak on right now as the world is shifting up under our feet. And we don't know which direction we're going in from one moment to the next. Those things we need to speak on, how we got here, where we might be headed, and how we might learn from the past to direct some better outcomes for tomorrow. This is not the time for us to be silent. So to encourage people across the board to speak on what's going on in our lives, not just here, but everywhere and globally, all at once. And that's the first time I've seen anything like this happening all at once to everyone, for everyone to be able to weigh in on this platform called the Black Album Mixtape. It is a website for people to respond to what they're feeling across all disciplines and all ages, whether you are an artist, whether you are a musician and want to write something about what does protest sound like, whether you are an architect thinking about how we plan urban cities moving forward, whether you're a doctor dealing with COVID-19 patients and you want to do a podcast or an article, whether you are visual or otherwise oriented. It is for everyone to respond on this site. It has been a journey in the planning of it and the implementing of it. I am overwhelmed in terms of the responses that I'm receiving, how people want to speak on it. I have a group in LA, a women's shelter, that is speaking on how they have survived during this pandemic. I have a group in Virginia, high school students, who are going to do half a minute segments on their cell phone every day for 7 days around the George Floyd verdict. They'll be doing half a minute. What are they looking at? What do they need to respond to in half a minute for 7 days? And we'll see what that compilation looks like. I have people creating black bone china dinnerware in response to the prompt of Black Lives Matter. It is really amazing how people want to respond. And I am encouraging all of you then in terms of who do you want to speak to? Who do you want to give a platform to? What do you want to say in this moment in time that you feel is very relevant, needs to be heard, needs to be discussed? How do you want to inspire and ignite? The Black Album mixtape.
Hey, Regina, thanks so much. That is a great start in the beginning of this dialogue about the Black Album. I am so happy to have participated and talked and been able to contribute to this oral history. Thank you for your imprint, just not just across the global space, but just your imprint on making sure our narrative is controlled by us. There have been a lot of conversations out there that they call crucial conversations during this time of racial reckoning. And you've launched this project, which I am just so happy it's out there, and you're soliciting entries for it. And I know that we're focusing on, the backdrop is focusing on the significance of 2020 and how defined by the COVID-19 pandemic and the social unrest and the death of George Floyd and continuing to be death of others that's happening out there. I have a question. Can you give us give us some type of directive or impact that you're trying to do with this particular crucial conversation with the Black Album mixtape? What sets it apart?
Yes. One, I think a lot of people are on the floor right now. I know sometimes, some days I am on the floor, overwhelmed by what's going on the floor and feeling like they're in the dark. This is a moment. This is a very crucial moment in history over this. Thinking about how life has changed over the last 12 months. I can say that I have lost at least one person that is significant to me each and every month. Those people who help define who I am. Going through that, also going through this in your face, people who have lost their minds coming up to you and telling you what they really think about you, type of thing, where things are erupting, people are fracturing, things are shifting in a very in your face kind of way. At times is really scary, and you're on the floor feeling that you're in the dark. That I encourage people then to speak on all of it, how all of it touches you, how it touches you, so that people know that they're not alone in these journeys. It is a platform for people, a call and response for people to share and to witness, testify on this moment in time and give encouragement or caution to how we move forward. Challenge is nothing new to us in this country. And I think we have to look back on those challenges that we have overcome, how we've done that, how we have not only survived, but how we have thrived through those challenges up till now. Again, challenges. At moments, they can be devastating, but to know that even as you feel that you're in the dark alone, that you never are. Give it a minute, breathe deeply, connect, continue to connect through all of this, and you will make it through in one shape or fashion.
Thank you for sharing, Regina. That's what we call this a happy hour, because after that great message, we do need to take a drink. Where are we? How do we get here? How do we imagine and arrive a better future? You're soliciting entries that from students, professionals, people in our storytellers, griots, people in the media, people in the arts, technology, science, and activism, because those are spokes on the wheel. And so all of those spokes need to be on the page. So what's the process and categories of these submissions? Can you share that? Because I think we're going to have a block party, I think. Right?
Yes, on May the 11th, we'll have a block party. That'll be the final event where we celebrate everyone who has collaborated with us on the Black Album mixtape, and we'll give some awards. We'll have an award ceremony, cash awards to those who are under 21 in the category of technology, activism, art, uh, science, and those who are over 22 in those same categories. It'll be a celebration and we'll go from city to city because I've been working with people not only at SMU and Dallas, but some HBCUs, Howard University, to Jackson, to Spelman, NYU, to other universities across the country, other institutions such as Oregon Shakespeare Festival, to Repertory Theater of St. Louis, New York Stage and Film, and others. So we'll be hopping from city to city, giving some shout outs to various people who want to present their voices at that moment in time.
Thank you, Regina. Last fall, thank you for the participation with you last fall when we did the performance with the SMU students, the Black Album 2020 Resistance. Guys, it's available. We'll put it in the chat and also email it out to you if you want to ask a question to Regina. Please put it in the chat. Tony will put it together. Also, if you want to get the press release, we're either going to load it in the chat and we also will give it to you there. But the Black Album 2020 Resistance was an amazing dialogue. It was a highly personalized collection of vignettes and what I call intentional moments that examine the question of what it is to be Black at this historically significant moment. And, you know, I ask you this question all the time, Regina, is how do we take this moment and how do we make it a movement? What will the mixtape do for us to put it there? This is a collaboration, of course, so talk to us about that.
Yes, it is a time for us to speak. We've had moments when that speech has been suppressed. I think about things that are happening right now, and it feels like there's kind of like a Harlem Renaissance happening, where people are soliciting Black voices in the media, whether that's also, it's also been very commercialized. Where you see protests happening in commercials. So it makes me applaud, but also question in terms of its purposes. And we do need to be very intentional, I think, right now, in terms of the purpose of these voices, the content. It is a time in my industry where you see a whole bunch of Black producers, and I think that's very key. Black producers, directors, DPs, people across the board. When I did Lovecraft Country, I was quite moved by the amount of people of color on that set in all positions, but starting from the top. And they were not only people of color, they were conscious people of color. That moved me, that surprised and moved me. That show got out and said what it said. I was shocked by it. How did it get out, especially in this moment in time? It is that moment time when I think because of some destabilization of certain institutions that we have an opening to speak and speak freely and to document that. Those things we need to make connection with amongst our communities and to encourage, to empower people to speak. It couldn't have happened like, what was it, 5 years ago with Colin Kaepernick, when he decided that he would speak and he was shut down. This is a different moment. I don't know how long it's going to last, but in this moment, I think we need to shout about it. We need to document it. We need to lay some foundations. We need to make sure that this next generation has some clarity, has some insight into what we've gone through and what we will continue to have to navigate so that they have an idea of past strategies to try to figure out new strategies to move it again forward from here. That's my purpose in terms of the Black Album mixtape.
Regina, thank you so much. And let me just say to everyone who's listening, I'm looking in the chat, I'm seeing your request, and if you have a question, let me know, and so that Regina can answer it. I did put my little part in there about how we need we're in a moment that needs to to maintain to create a momentum. It was inspired by a conversation I had with Regina at lunch before COVID. So we were at lunch together. And I think it's important as we as communicators and people who manage other communicators and those who tell the stories that focus around social justice, racial reckoning, and the fact that we've got to turn this around. I mean, even now I found people having conversations about reparations and those people are not even Black. And we've had 4 states saying that being a Black male may be an endangered species is a public health issue. Once again, the works can include video, correct me if I'm wrong, Regina, video, music, audio, images, monologues, photos, designs, text, interviews, and self-interviews. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And share with me, you know, I say this all the time about you, so you're not surprised. It is great that you walk along the lines of the greats. We know that you're an iconic representation of our culture in this country, and we know that your work has been succinctly directed to say, I'm going to only do things that's going to move that needle and show us in the grace that we are. You walk along other greats like yourself, like Cecily Tyson, and people who have just chosen that I'm only going to do good stuff. So why the Black Album mixtape, and why now?
I am called to do this right now. I started out very early with being indoctrinated by my mother. She taught me how to write. That was the greatest gift that she gave me as a child, to be able to write children's books at 4 years old, imprinting on me that this is a survival tool. As you can imagine it, you can do it. You start with your imagination. You dream it, you imagine it. You roll up your sleeves, some hard work, but you gotta navigate through some things. So you have to strategize. The tools of writing, the tools of creating can take you any direction you want to go in. One, naming yourself in this world, as people will try to name you before your first breath. Will try and write that narrative for you from beginning to end. That you do have some choices here. This is your survival tool, child, is what she told me. And it has served me well.
Oh, it's amazing. And I would be remiss if I did not congratulate you on your latest accomplishment. And I think we all will put your congratulations in the chat there. But Regina Taylor is going to be to play Michelle Obama's mother in the Showtime's anthology series, The First Lady. So I am so happy for you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited to start that project, starring Viola Davis. Showtime, I think it's 9 series. They give 9 series to each woman, from First Ladies, from Michelle Obama to Eleanor Roosevelt to Betty Ford. I think Michelle Pfeiffer is playing Betty Ford. I'm really excited to play Michelle Obama's mother. I've been watching tapes of her. I'm reaching out. If anyone knows her, I would love to meet her. I feel some responsibility in creating, not creating, but portraying a real life person. You want to get it right. I go to Chicago quite a bit, and people will let me know if I don't. So I'm very excited and very honored to play this role.
Oh, and no one's more excited than me to know that your work speaks for itself, and that playing her moms is going to be an exaltation. And as a member of MBK Alliance, I know this is going to happen without me, Regina, but I will make sure that you can get a conversation with her mom. I've already reached out to them to congratulate them, and I already told them that, you know, you got a winner playing this role. I mean, in addition to earning a Golden Globe Award, 2 Emmy nominations, 5-time NAACP Image Award nominee, and all of the big screen work you do. I mean, this is a win-win for Michelle's mom. So she should probably is going to be calling you before I can ask her to call you.
I look forward to that. It is an honor to be in this project. And again, something where I think playing this and that they are doing this can tie art and activism. I've been very lucky. I've been privileged my whole career to be able to do some roles that that tie together that fact. First role that I ever played for film, TV movie of the week was Crisis at Central High, about the first Black students to integrate the Arkansas school system. And it kind of fell in my lap. I was wandering around at Meadows at SMU. Somebody came up because I was stalking Henry Fonda and asked me if I was an actress. I said, sure, why not? I went to the audition and I got it. Made up a fake resume, did a Polaroid, and walked in the room, and I got the role of Minnie Jean Brown, one of the first students to integrate the Arkansas school system. It then spoke to me in terms of mission, purpose, those things that my mother had whispered in my ear as a child, wanting me to be a writer and empowering me to write my story. That piece, that first acting role on TV, solidified what I thought was a given mission to tie arts and activism. It's a very powerful medium in terms of giving people hope. Speaking of Cicely Tyson, I was very moved when she passed. I remember the first time I saw her on TV. That was back black and white TVs and West Dallas projects, and visiting my grandmother. And it was back in the day when if you ever saw a Black person on the screen and they looked like you and they acted like you in terms of your full authentic self, not the fake you that they would like parade around on the screen, but the real you. She was the real thing. This chocolate woman that was shining through, again, real authentic self that you could identify with. Me being this child, running up to the screen, running up and down the street, because that's what you would do, telling the neighbors to come on in, you got to see this, you have to see this woman. It gave us hope. It gave us a feeling of self and the possibilities of self.
Amen.
I know how powerful this medium is.
Amen, Regina. And you know, I was not less than 2 blocks down from you, those same projects where we all would gather when a Black person showed up on television. Same year, remember? We would go in there, everybody come to the living room. There's Diane Carroll, there's Cicely Tyson. It was an awesome time at this point. And it's good to see that we are in a racial reckoning that is asking us to reclaim ourselves. And it's also allowing us to control the narrative, so that we don't get their story. We don't get the Aunt Jemima pancake box story. All right, we get the Big Mama story. My Big Mama, your Big Mama, the ones that did that. At this point, thank you for sharing. I'm going to see if we have any questions. We're trying to be on time. Tony, did we get any questions for him? And while we're waiting for a question, Tony, I want Mona, my good friend Mona, my road dog on the East Coast, to talk about what you just posted in the chat. Mona, go ahead.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Well, it's interesting. I mean, everything that Regina's talking about is just resonating with me so strongly as a communications person for a Black theater company, Crossroads Theater Company in New Jersey, which is 42 years young and is the only Tony Award winning Black theater ever. We received a Tony back in, I think, 96 or 92. In any event, one of the things we're doing, we have our Talent Talk series where we talk about the pertinent issues today in our community. We did one on voting. We have one coming up to commemorate and celebrate George Floyd and all of the great things that we are so hopeful are going to come out of that. And I would ask you all to go to crossroadstheatercompany.com to see that on the 25th. Actually, right now, and as Regina's talking about the things that she's doing, right now, I think today is the 3rd day of our Genesis series of new plays where we spotlight the work of new playwrights that are coming up. Right now, we're highlighting some work, and you're probably familiar, Regina, with High Arts out of New York City. We're doing some things with them, and then a theater company out of South Africa, their new work. But with Cicely Tyson, we are going to be celebrating her her life, her artistry, her activism as part of our virtual fundraising gala this year. And we're working with her family, and we're doing that on May 20th. I would hope that Regina might be interested in being part of that program. And maybe,
that's why we have that's why we have this happy hour. Thank you, Mona, for sharing. I also know that you, David Tyson's nephew, just won an award for Black Lives Matter in Frisco ISD. So, are you telling me he's going to be entering this Black Malcolm mixtape, David? Did we lose you, David?
I'm back. Yes. I want to make sure it's not my nephew, my grandson. So.
And you also are related to Cecily Tyson, aren't you?
Well, as I said, I always claimed that for many, many years, even back during the days when she was married to Miles Davis, but I could never connect the tree.
Well, thank you for sharing. Tony, do we have a question for Regina?
No, we haven't, I don't see anything posted.
See, Regina, that shows how great you are, that your information and the things that we've shared and your history and your presence on the planet, we don't have to ask much. We just have to sit back and listen and operate after that. So thank you so much. And stay with us now while I try and go over and introduce another one of our colleagues tonight. Thank you, Regina, so much for your presence, and your imprint is immeasurable. You have been a game changer since the day you walked out the door and put that Polaroid on that resume. So thank you for being here. All right. All right. So I just want to focus on another guest we have tonight, Linda Ingo. I call her one of God's special women. She's a powerhouse marketing owner of Ingo Limit, and it's part of consulting, branding, and marketing, public speaking. And we have worked together with some of our community initiatives. She's been our celebrity taster at City Men Cook. She's part of our mentoring program. She has empowered so many young people to say that they have hope. A snapshot of her resume includes international affairs, marketing, public relations, talent development, public speaking. And she's not a stranger to diversity. She and I have worked so much on diversity programs, and she was part of the template that helped us build the diversity training that a lot of you diversity ambassadors on the call did, that we did with Politico, Facebook, Google. Oh, we had a whole roster of people when we did the D&I training for NABJ. So I'm so happy to have her here. She currently is the honorary Lighthouse Ambassador recipient for the Lighthouse Foundation, discriminating a passion for people in the community. And I asked her to come and answer a few questions. Let's just put in the chat. Welcome to her. She was recognized as Entrepreneur of the Year, Woman Entrepreneur of the Year by the Greater Dallas Agent Chamber, which I am a consultant to. And she is also part of the National Association of Professional Women, the VIP Elite Woman of the Year as well, and a lifetime member of Who's Who. She's just a phenomenal woman. I'm glad to call her, as I do Regina. I'll take claim for it. They're both part of my community wives. So no proposals, please. They're already taken for her. But anyway, so I want to welcome Linda to our group. And Linda, welcome. You there?
Hey.
Thanks.
I know every year I wonder what did I move up in rank? Am I number one this year? You never know until we hit that stage. So Regina, you're gonna find out this year once we hit this July. Might be number one this year.
Yeah, I have to put those wives in order. Linda, I have questions for you. I want you to try to help us as communicators tell the story and control the narrative. There have been several recent attacks that have been charged as hate crimes, fueling protests and outrage among Asian Americans in this country. And why, share with us some of the misnomers or some of the truths that we have, because a lot of these attacks have been by people of color. And I say, I'll have to speak, my grandmother speak, you know, my column is all about Big Mama, and Big Mama said that all skin folk ain't kin folk. You know, it's not something that we as people of color would do. So can you speak to some of the misnomers about that? And I remember you sharing one thing with me, and I'll go ahead and reveal it. And we were talking about Asian hate last month. She said, this ain't new. We've been going through the same thing. You Black folks been going through the whole time. So please share with us.
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. Happy hour. Cheers. Toast to all of our Aries and everybody's birthday. Thank you again, Terry, for inviting me. It has been happening. And it's funny because the Asian community has always been deemed the passive culture, right? We're to shut up, keep your head down, and keep working. And it's funny because ideally, if you took your time to learn the Asian community, it starts at home. You know, mom and grandma tells you, oh, don't fuss about it, keep it going. And so a lot of it is self-inflicted for us as an Asian community. However, when it comes to these hate movements, unfortunately, I used to say that Asians weren't good enough to make the media streamline. We weren't important enough. It happens at the same time death rates to, you know, when it comes to crime and criminal justice, you know, I used to be the only Vietnamese woman bail bond in the entire country. So I saw all sides from politics to the street, alleged criminals and everything else. And the saddest thing about the Asian community and even other foreigners is that they would sit in jail a couple days extra because there wasn't a translator and there was no rush to hurry and get a translator in. So ideally, not only are we sitting in jail for a few extra days against our due process, because of the language barriers, they often admit to a crime just to hurry up and get home and provide for family, not knowing what they just agreed to. All they understood was get out of jail and go home type of situation. So unfortunately, there's been a whole lot of different ways that Asian communities or in communities that has a language barrier has been, you know, taken advantage of, bullied and discriminated. And we talk about this Asian hate, and I get that there's a lot of, I didn't know there was a Black against Asian thing until it hit the news and media. And I said, I thought that was kind of weird because I thought the Asian and the Black community were friends. And obviously, Terry, you know, my children are mixed with Black. So I've never personally seen that side in a sense. Now, one thing that I do see, and it's a fault here and there and unjust of the media at times, that because there are crimes being committed against the Asian community and other communities of other colors, the media does not show that. So of course, you know, with the Atlanta shooting, that was a white guy. I was recently in LA not too long ago, and of course I was chastised with racial slurs by some Black guys. So it's a variety. There's no such thing as just, I hate that in our media and in our society that everything is a blanket based on individuals' experiences. If you went into a nail salon and had a bad experience, it's a whole Asian thing. If I had a bad experience with a Caucasian issue, then it's a whole Caucasian thing. Instead of saying individual instances, it's unfair that sometimes the certain people that are pushing buttons behind the media are only depicting a certain color, obviously. So it's just an unfair representation. I think a lot of it is picking and choosing who wants to go viral. But I think it happens, and there's a sprinkle of hate and bully and craziness in all cultures and all races and all families. You know, the biggest misconception is Asian sticks together and we're privileged, but you got to be one to know one, right? And so for us, we're the first one to cut each other off as well. I mean, family or DNA or no DNA. And so there's a lot of things that people aren't privy to because they just don't ask. And so the one thing I think, Terry, you know, the best thing about me is that I've always thanked you just for taking the time to get to know me, because that is so important. And I think if everyone would just stop instead of going to their quickest judgment or reading Google or TikTok or Facebook or whatever social media platform, just get to know that one person or that individual before you make any type of judgments. And speaking to one person is not a blanket for the entire culture or family.
I appreciate you sharing that, Linda. And you know, you and I work together a lot. You represent a lot of the leadership and in terms of their image and reputation management and their credibility. Especially you and I were working on documentation for some of the Asian immigrants just 2 nights ago. Many Asian Americans have been left wondering how much of that is cultural stereotypes, because they always cast the women as weak or submissive. They always look like it's an oops moment. Instead of saying that this is an egregious attack against Americans who happen to be Asian, they always want to pull the women as a weak person. What are some of the ways that we can control these narratives, and who would we be talking to make sure that we tell a true story of what's going on with not just the Black community, but the Asian community as well?
I think what you'll find is the Asian communities have nervousness when it comes to the immigration, whether they just don't want to start any trouble, because any types of trouble they'll get deported, and that's the last thing they want. So you will find a lot of them that will just take the beatings and keep it moving, and it's the saddest part. And I don't know if I fell too hard when I was a kid and I didn't catch that gene, but I'm extremely vocal, and you'll just have to unfortunately find that person or the group of people that will speak, because again, unfortunately, there are some things that even sometimes when I do speak, and I am focusing on trying to be the Asian voice, of course, for the Dallas County, it is tough sometimes because a lot of the Asian communities don't want you to cause trouble, or they don't want that attention, even though it's needed and even though it's good. It's kind of a hit and miss, and it's just kind of a catch-22 because they don't want that attention, but at the same time they're dying. The Asian community, and you know, Terry, working with the immigrations here, the Vietnamese especially are the first, probably one of the highest suicidal rates. So with the Asian culture, we would rather commit suicide than to be someone's burden,
Right.
even if it's family. And I'm pretty sure working with GDAC, we've seen a lot of that, trying to help them here and there, but it's tough. It's really, really, really tough to find Asians that are okay with that attention. Because even though I'm in this situation and photo shoots and stuff, I run. And you've known that every single time we have to take a photo, I'm like, do I really have to? And even submitting a photo, I'm like, Terry, can you just pick one? Because the all eyes on me is a little scary at times, but when it comes, for me, it has to be with a cause and a purpose. You'll get me if there's a cause and a purpose, but other than that, it is tough. It is tough because there's so many Asian families who maybe 2 out of the entire family is legally here, and they don't want to upset the rest of the family, or there's some type of fear there, and they don't want to be retaliated, or for us in our culture, we're starting trouble. So if we just stop giving in to all the bullying, we just focus on providing, then they'll eventually leave us alone. Is kind of their mindset until you run into somebody like me or a few other local Asians.
Hey, thank you so much. It's almost as if the public just discovered that there's anti-Asian bias, discrimination, and hatred in the country. And what's upsetting is that it took so much violence for people to take this discrimination seriously, not just among us, but among Asians as well. Manny, you have a question for Linda? Can you unmute and ask your question?
I see him. I don't have the stats, Manny.
Okay. Sorry, the other part of my question was that how much of this hatred directed at the Asian community you blame on the rhetoric of the former President Trump?
Sorry, y'all. I just got a new puppy, so she's wanting to speak on my behalf. You know, obviously, proof is in the pudding, right? We've been bullied, we've been hated on, we've been unfairly done for so long, but it wasn't until COVID in our last administration when he kept calling it the Kung Fu virus or China virus or whatnot, that it's been the focal point of the media. So at this point, you've gotten Jeremy Lin, who plays professional basketball, who gets called the coronavirus on the court. Get off, virus, you're the virus. And he's literally in the middle of a game and being called the coronavirus. We have Hispanic guys who literally stopped in the middle of a protest, an Asian organized peaceful protest, and he got out of his car to yell and scream because COVID killed his mother. So we were the blame, and he wanted to stop the protest. So there's a little bit of the media attention is definitely 100% heightened because of that rhetoric.
Thank you, Linda. Clifton.
Sure.
So this is interesting because I'm still focused on what's important to me. I was ignorant of this. I didn't know that. And so my question is, for those people who may not be aware of this issue, what do you think people can do to create more of a, can we just get along? You know what I mean?
I think it's the power of patience. It's the power of choosing to go get to know one of your Asian brothers and sister and family and entity. And next time you go to an establishment that could be Asian run, just start having a friendly conversation. The biggest thing I want to give out is PSA wise is that a lot of the times the Asians come off harsh. It's not because they don't like you, it's just the language and the dialect, and they're having a hard time pronouncing properly. And so sometimes it could be misconstrued as very mean. And because I have an aunt that way, and she could be loving you, but by the looks of her face, you're in trouble. And so there's a lot of that miscommunication. And so a lot of the times, if you would just sit down and talk to somebody, and a few of those somebodies, then you do get a chance to actually learn their cultures, learn everything that they've gone through. I've been a victim of rape, abuse. My dad shot and killed my mother when I was 3. We've been homeless before because of domestic violence. Those have no racial barriers. Those have no, we're not excluded because we're Vietnamese or we're Black or we're white or we're Hispanic. We're all human. We're a human race. And until we can actually truly invest in each other and give each other genuine time with an open mind and learn how to articulate without feeling disrespected and taking off our sensitivity hat, knowing that when you strip the fluff and the emotions, there's no malice intent. So with no malice intent, it's genuinely an opportunity to learn about one another. I mean, I'm still learning more about my culture. And when I won the award for 2014, 2015 GDAC Woman of the Year, I felt that I didn't know enough. I felt that I didn't do enough for our Asian community. So once I won that award, I worked backwards. I'm like, okay, well, shoot, let me go earn what you just gave me versus just rewarding me for something that you're saying I did, but I felt like I didn't do enough. So I went and learned about the Meade Center. I went and learned about how many immigrants here. There was over 10,000 immigrants, Asian immigrants here in the Dallas County community area. And so there was just so many different things that I wanted to do to create jobs and create voices and be their voices. And I think, you know, if you have a platform, get to know your Asian brothers and sisters, your Hispanics brothers and sisters, and have a voice and share that voice, share that experience on social media the way all this negative crap is shared. And then that way, hopefully positivity and unity can actually be the next viral thing.
Oh, Linda, thanks for doing that. I did place in the chat a statement that you shared with me last week from Dr. Sherry Wang. And it says that another stereotype that contributes to ongoing anti-Asian bias and hate is the model minority myth. There's the myth that Asian Americans are unilaterally successful, well adapted because they are quiet and submissive and hardworking. In fact, the stereotype was manufactured during the civil rights movement to weaponize Asian Americans against Black Americans, and it masked the diversity of the whole Asian experience and what they've gone through. I think David Tyson that more so when they tried to show that division between Koreans and Blacks during the early parts of the 60s. And I appreciate you for sharing the fact that Asians are different people as well. You know, I worked with, as a communications consultant to Fuji at the time, I worked with them because they had an internal communications problem, and they thought that they set generic rules for internal communications that didn't work, and they didn't realize that they were dealing with people from Cambodia, Thailand, and the biggest conflict were the people who were from mainland China and the people who were from Taiwan, and then the Japanese, and they didn't realize that they had their own differences and they had their own conflicts. And so therefore their internal communication system was failing. And I was able to write a new communication system and do some training to get them to understand. So I do thank you for sharing that. It sometimes feel like an all-out assault on racism that Manny Otico kind of highlighted, what started all this. it didn't start, it just highlighted and moved it to a level of prominence. So we all have to engage in self-care at the policy level, cultural sensitivity level, and to control our narratives. And I thank you for being on the call, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think I learned even more about the Asian and the different communities watching old martial arts films. So if you guys love reading subtitles, definitely watch the Ip Man's IP Man, which is I guess he's deemed as Bruce Lee's original Sifu. But between watching Ip Man, I think part 3 and part 4, and then of course the Bruce Lee's, it showed how Asian and Blacks united. It showed that the Japanese and China were bumping heads. So that's Asian on Asian. So it's literally, I hate that it's always deemed one or the other. It seems like at times we're competing to have the biggest negative headlines, as cultures and race, and that's unfortunate. And again, it goes back to having personal experiences with opposite races or colors or cultures or whatnot. And then that one person having a platform enough to be vocal, and then that gets deemed as a racial cultural thing versus an independent individual situation.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And I'm going to close with the introduction of our last guest. And she's got a question that she placed in the chat I'd like for her to answer. But let me introduce, thank you, by the way, Linda, and thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for making me look good. I appreciate that. Thanks for wearing
I'm working on that wife ranking this year.
Thank you for wearing your
Regina has way too big shoes to fill.
Well, all right, but let me go ahead and announce and bring on to the table Chelsea Fuller. She's the new media related representative, board representative for NABJ. She is currently serves as the deputy and director and media strategist for Blackbird Communication. She supervises the accounts for such clients as the Movement for Black Lives, the Me Too movement, and has also worked with Black Lives Matter, the Dream Defenders Organization, and the Workers Center for Racial Justice. And before that, she was at another program that I work with a lot, the Advancement Project. And as an experienced journalist, she's a regular contributor to a lot of things. She has a passion for communications and media strategy. And so let's welcome Chelsea Fuller. Chelsea, are you there? Can you ask Linda your question?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Terry. And
how are you, Chelsea?
I'm doing all right. Nice to see everyone. Linda, thank you so much for joining. Regina, also, thanks so much for joining. This is my first happy hour. So I feel like I joined a fantastic conversation as my first official welcome to the space, because I'm not usually able to join these meetings. So really glad and grateful for the conversation. Linda, I'll probably hit you up offline because I know it's coming to time, but I just really wanted to talk more just about storytelling and narrative opportunities that you see that perhaps NABJ and other organizations represented on this call could be thinking about in terms of closing that divide, in terms of how we're thinking about systemic racism across communities of color. But yeah, I'm really happy to see everyone and appreciate the quick opportunity I have to talk to you all. Some of you have reached out to me personally since I was appointed to the board. I really appreciate that. I've really appreciated the conversations that we've been able to have, but really have been anxious to have a more robust conversation with all of you as a group and with all of the members of the task force. I think Terry and the leadership of the task force have done a tremendous job over the past few years of cultivating a space of practitioners and strategists and people that are thinking really critically about how communications people contribute to the creation of good journalism, right? How we are all in different ways contributing to narrative shift and how we're helping people across community build narrative power, specifically narrative power for Black people, which I think is really important. And I'll let you all be the first folks to know that I do currently work at Blackbird, which is one of the firms that was really integral in the narrative shifts that we saw happening from 2014 around the death of Michael Brown and Ferguson, throughout the racial reckoning that's almost a decade in the making now, but generations in the making if we really are being realistic. And it's been a true honor to work with that team. But I will be taking a new job starting the beginning of May as the Vice President of Communications for Time's Up, which is a global movement, an organization working in service to survivors of sexual violence that was birthed out of the viral Me Too moment that happened in 2017. So y'all are kind of some of the first folks to know that I will be taking that job. It has not been publicly announced yet, but you will see the press about that very soon. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with y'all. I have a call with our president here after this call. She doesn't even know yet, so y'all know before Dorothy. But saying all that to say, I am really committed to making sure that all of the spaces that I'm in, that we are thinking really critically about leadership, particularly in this moment. And as communicators, I want to engage with you all and hear more from you all just about the ways that you're thinking about the leadership of communications professionals in this moment, but also in the years to come, because we'll never think about issues of systemic violence the same way again. We'll never think about race the same way again. I hope people are thinking differently and will continue to grow and evolve in their understanding of these issues. And a lot of times folks look at communicators and, you know, folks working across the kind of PR and ad space as separate and apart from the folks that are actually working on the front lines of change. And that's just really not true. And in terms of NABJ in this space in particular, I've been told and I've been asked and welcomed into some conversations about how to expand the way that our membership think about this particular task force, right? How to make it so that folks understand, like, it's not just people that do corporate public relations work. It's not just for folks that are doing advertising work, and all of that is important, but that it's a space for folks who are doing communications work across the spectrum, from nonprofit and NGO organizations to folks at, you know, the highest levels of corporate America. Because all of us have to have, you know, these really critical conversations, like Terry was saying, about the stories that have to be told, the ways that we have to engage with clients and partners to help move multiple needles. But I'm really interested in figuring out how to best support you all in the work that you're doing inside of NABJ, so that we are thinking about membership differently, that we're bringing in folks that have different experiences from different walks of life, who think about communications differently. We have, I think I put this on the agenda, we have 2 requests from large communications institutions that really want to work with NABJ in some new ways. Organizations that have members who are individually associated with NABJ, but who don't have direct connections to this task force, some of them who didn't even know it existed, right? One of those organizations is the Radical Communicators Network. I've shared this with Terry. It's been in our board reports a couple of times. They really want to figure out how to work with this group specifically. It's a group of thousands of progressive communicators working across politics, you know, NGO spaces, corporate America, who are really thinking about communications and public relations work in some really innovative and creative ways that are connected to ending particular kinds of violence against impacted communities, right? So the conversation we just had here tonight is an example of that kind of work. So I'm gonna drop the link to RadComs in the chat for y'all. Oh, I think I sent it to somebody directly. Sorry, share it with everyone. So that's one request that has come in and want us to think about that and talk about the possibilities there as a group. And then the Black Public Relations Society, which I know we have really great relationships with already. They've seen a need in this moment of COVID, and particularly the past couple of months, to have more conversations about the ways in which communications professionals are actually preparing their clients to deal with issues of systemic violence and racism internally, not just, you know, preparing them to message externally, right? Which was a big part of what a lot of us do, helping people figure out how to interject a positive message into a current narrative playing out in the mainstream. I think that's a tremendous opportunity. So I wanted to bring those 2 to Terry and to all of you. And I'm trying to speak really quickly so I don't go over time. I want folks to have a chance to ask questions if there are some. But yeah, I'm really focused on helping NABJ collectively have some of the hard conversations that we've needed to have, right? Not just specific to this task force, but there's been, you know, several instances where NABJ has been asked to step up to make, you know, demands in these moments that we've seen around the racialized violence happening in communities, but also there's been calls to action that have come internally from different task force and from different members. And NABJ is up to the challenge, but knows that there's work that has to be done to prepare and to make sure that we're standing in our values and that we're actually addressing harm where harm is happening without it being disingenuous, and making sure that the work that we're doing puts us in a position to create sustainable change, not just tactical momentary change. So I'm holding a lot of that for the organization, but I also want all of you to know that I am available to you. There's several new board members, and many of us are first-time board members. So we've decided that we're going to hold regular office hours, monthly office hours. It's not always easy to get folks on a call, and I appreciate everyone's effort to try and make sure that there's opportunities for me to be able to check in with you all. So to make that a little bit easier on the leadership and myself, we're going to have regular office hours that will be publicized, so folks can come and talk to me and other board members directly about some of the questions that they have, work that they want to do, or to just engage, to be in the know about some of the stuff that's happening that we don't often have. Well, I haven't had an opportunity as of yet to really get into with all of you. So those were my agenda items. I will hush. And again, just really grateful for the chance to talk to you all, and look forward to being able to engage with you in the coming months and years. Hopefully I'm not going anywhere, so.
Thank you for the scoop, Chelsea. Congratulations on the move. It's well deserved. Your imprint has always been great. I got a chance to scrape across you when you were leaving the Advancement Project, and I think your imprint and your movement is great. We're so happy to have you on the call. And I'll say this out front in front of everybody so we get it right. We will be more than happy to have another call on your timeline. So just let us know when and how, and we will have a direct call with the membership and the task force with you. And so thank you so much, and congratulations, you got a VP title. All right, now that's a C-suite move. We appreciate you. All right, so does anybody have any questions for Chelsea? I think there was one.
Yes. Hi, Chelsea. Congratulations on your job, your new job. And thanks for all the tea you just spilled today. My question is around training and media related job fairs, because I know we're a part of a journalism association, which is great. But oftentimes when I look for jobs and even training that's more media related, I'm not seeing that. So I was just wondering, is that something NABJ is going to do, or should I continue to look more on the PRSA side for that type of training?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jade. And thank you to everyone who chatted me in the public chat and personally with the congratulations. I appreciate it. So training is a huge thing. It was something that I talked a lot about with Dorothy before deciding to accept this appointment, because there has been a lack of both resources and just space and capacity given to media related members in the way of training and other developmental opportunities that sometimes our colleagues on the journalism side do get. So there are some conversations about it. One of the things that felt really exciting about the National Black Public Relations Society wanting to work more closely with the task force is it is a training opportunity. They want to develop a set of trainings with the task force specifically for media related members that deal with some of the more traditional facets of the work, but also that focus on preparing our members to do comms and media related work in some new spaces and areas, right? When we do see these trainings, a lot of time they are focused on folks that do more traditional kinds of communications work, which is limiting, right? Our membership is more than 50%, I think at this point, are folks under the age of 35. Of those members that are communications, that work in the communications industry, a lot of them have really creative and innovative and just different job titles and are holding different roles, all of which contribute to this task force, all of which contribute to the work of communications professionals, and all that contribute to the creation of good journalism, right? Especially that of Black journalists. So the leadership are seeing a need in a space, a need for a space for more training. So that's something I'm pushing for. But that organization that I shared the link of, the Radical Communicators Network, provides tremendous training to communications professionals, many of whom are of color. And I'm going to put another group in here as well. Reframe is a training organization for communicators, specifically for communicators who are looking to help their organizations kind of message the moment, right? Social impact, social change, communications work is their specialty, but they provide various levels of communications training, from executive level coaching, which is something I do for them, to kind of the one-on-one stuff. So give them a look, but you will see more training opportunities coming in the year.
All right, anyone else?
Hey, Chelsea, nice to see you. Congratulations on your ascension to the C-suite. That's really important. It's a great move for you. saying you congratulations. First question I have for you is there any chance that there'll be more award categories and recognitions for the media related group? Because when you go to the Salute to Excellence dinner, which is really one of my favorite events at the convention, there are scores of events for folks in print and television, but there's only one award or two awards for the media related folks. And if you're a media related person there, you kind of feel probably a little more than slighted. Is there any chance that we can expand the award categories and recognize more folks?
Thank you, Tony. And that's a really great question. That's something that I've been advocating for. That was a big thing for me in my last post as the chair of the Young Journalist Task Force, was just the expansion of categories in general, right? Not just specific to us as comms people, but across the board. So it is something that's on our plate to discuss internally as a board, doing a revisiting of the categories. Where this task force's leadership is concerned, I think from Terry to Misty, across the board, leaders of this space have contributed so much to the work of the organization that it really just feels unfair and just nonsensical to not have more than one category. And I think based on what I'm hearing in the conversations that I'm a part of, it feels like there's been, for some reason, some misconception that the work of communications folks or media related folks in this organization is really only in the corporate space, right? So if they're going to honor somebody, it needs to be some, PR executive who's had 50, 60 years of experience at the highest echelons of the industry. And that's just not fair, because we're honoring people across, the organization who hold different titles, who are, we have the emerging award that's honoring someone who's at the beginning of their career, right? So we should have that same level of diversity of acknowledgement for media related members as well. So it's a conversation that's happening. I would advise Terry and the leadership of this task force to put forward a proposal. I'm sure that's already happened, but now with the conversation that we're having now, it feels like the right time to nudge. And you would have my full support, and I would carry that over the finish line if it was the last thing that I do, because I've had real issue just being transparent with you, with all of you, with the way that the awards are handled in the past. In terms of the diversity of folks who get these awards, and gender diversity, gender identity, right? We have not had enough diversity across the board, age diversity, all of those things. So folks are listening. So I would advise that, let's get into it. Let's use this as a moment to push for what we want, and let me know how I can be supportive. If you want to submit something for our next board meeting, I would love that. I would love that.
Speaking of pushing for what we want, what about the possibility of, I know there was just a question asked about training, having more trainings, but particularly more sessions during the convention, because it always seems as though there's only a few media related sessions. And when you like, especially during the sessions now that are virtual, you really have to kind of pick and choose where, and it always seems as though there are only a few actual offerings. Is there a way we can perhaps expand the offerings and maybe have just like a media related track during the convention, which is just for the media related folks, and then we can all submit ideas and we can have more course offerings during the conventions?
Chelsea, before you responded, let me give you some background. We have tried to put together, and we're going to need your support. We're putting together a media institute that's going to deal with a track for us. And I do want to go on record for saying our last in-person conference and our last virtual conference did have a full roster of media-related workshops, and they were standing room only, and they were full. So we need your support, and we also need to be engaged with you to make sure we continue that. We're not lacking programming. We just want to make sure we have more of a visible imprint, because we've done a fantastic job in the next 2 years. And we definitely know that you are one of the best warriors for this, and that we need to go back. And I have approached, I'm part of Beepers too, and I've approached some of the PR firms, and they're willing to put some dollars behind it so that we can have not just a track at convention, but to have a media institute on there. And we're running out of time, but I just want to make sure we said that. I think we have a question from Ron and then from Pam. But you can go ahead and respond, Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea. Welcome and congratulations on all of the great news you just made us aware of. My question is, I'm following up a little bit on what Tony asked, and it's related to awards. Over the last couple of years, I would say over the last 2 or 3 years, we have had individuals who have obtained, I think the only award that this group is able to receive on behalf of NABJ, the Pat Tobin Awards. And what has happened is that there are individuals who have received the award that, and I'm not the award keeper, but there are a lot of individuals who have received this award and really don't deserve to have it. Normally, the person is a friend of someone who sits on the board, and that person is pushed forward. And they really, as one of our colleagues would say, have no skin in the game. They don't represent anything that Pat Tobin represents besides just being a PR person. So I'm wondering if there is a way that, and I love your energy and I love the fact that you're going to be proactive, but I'm wondering if there's a way that we can stop that from happening in the future. I know we're a part of a journalism organization, and a lot of times PR people are pushed to the back of the bus. But the thing is, when I look at the dues that I pay, both locally and nationally, and the dues that the journalists paid, there's no big difference. So I feel as if sometimes we're slighted, and I hope that, I'm willing to be of whatever assistance I can be in helping you chart a better course for us. But right now we're treated as kind of stepchildren. And the Pat Tobin Award, I know Pat personally. She was a dear friend of mine, and I know who she is. And some of the people that has received the award in her name really doesn't deserve it.
Thank you for that, Ron. And I agree with much of what you've said, and it's been, an internal and a very public conversation about NABJ in terms of how award recipients are selected, right? There is this, perception that's rooted in some truth. And I know I'm a new kid, but I've been a member of NABJ since I was 18. So, and in leadership my entire professional career. So I've seen how the sausage is made, but I've also been, someone calling crap out on the outside, right? That NABJ sometimes does run like a fraternity or a sorority, right? It's like who is in a particular, the folks in a particular clique that have a particular access to power often make decisions that are representative of the whole organization. And that's just actually not the way that a democratic and value-based organization should run. Part of the reason why I think we're having issues with that particular award, and I have called that out in years past, is because the people that are making the decision largely don't know anything about communications. Outside of, Terry being on the board for all those years, nobody else on the board has any experience with communications in a really intentional way, but also that has a level of expertise to be able to assess someone's viability or someone's work acumen, someone's contributions to the field, right? There are people that would say that they knew, but they actually don't. So one of my recommendations is expanding the ways that we're making the final decision about all of the award nominees, right? And the folks that are getting the awards, because I know I've worked as a journalist. I should not have the same weight. My decision should not bear the same weight as a communications professional or as someone who has only worked on the editorial side. Like if we're thinking about someone winning for visual journalism or broadcast journalism as somebody who's been in that field for 10, 15, 20 years, right? So there's not enough equity and there's not enough diversity of experience in how we're making these decisions. So I'm addressing it on the board as a board member from that regard to help open up the opportunity to see more diverse and more to see an increase of worthy, I'll say, candidates for the nomination and for the award itself. But it has to be that external and internal pressure. So I'm happy to support y'all from the task force level as any way that I can. Because I agree that some of the folks that have received it, I was a little bit confused as to why.
Thank you.
Amazing answer, Chelsea. Thank you so much. I think this has been great. And Chelsea, I do want to work and find a way for us to have another conversation with our board rep on your time and get the other 22 members that registered for this event that signed up and get them on the board. Because not only do we want you to be the warrior, we want you to have some soldiers, and we can get these soldiers coming at you. And so thank you for that. And thank you for the recognition that when I was on the board, we got Ron became our Pat Tobin Award winner. We got nominations from Tanisha. We got people who are actually in the work, and one of Pam's favorite words is that they had some skin in the game. And so we did do that. And I'm glad that you recognize that. And I want to make sure we get those office hours, and I'll put them out as soon as I can. You have done an amazing job talking to us today. I'm so glad you moved whatever you do. And I know you got a lot of stuff you're doing on Sunday. I'm so glad you moved it to be here. And I hope you like your picture on the flyer, because it's the only one I could find. So thank you for this. And let's get engaged and do more. Thank you so much. And in closing, I want to thank all of you. Regina, thank you for making us see our Blackness authentically and intentionally. Linda, thank you for letting us know that all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and we have to understand that there is some similarities. And Chelsea, thank you for coming aboard, and all the board members, thank you for engaging those conversations with Chelsea here and with her personally and directly. Thanks everyone, this has been great. I just want to close with saying one thing. We have to focus on self-care. That was one of the first things we did here with our group. And we have to focus on self-care, because we have this discrimination and hate that has been fueled. It's caused a lot of psychological and physical distress. Just watching the George Floyd trial, I had to stop in order to continue to work. So we've got to support each other and focus on controlling these narratives. I'm going to say, make sure that you are watching and participating in the Black mixtape. You got to go and do this. And I will distribute the one that we did at SMU that Regina did. Thank you for that input, Regina. We have got to control the narrative. And I put in the chat earlier my article I did on my column that we must, in order to make this moment of movement, we have to maintain momentum. Let's do that. Let's go out and keep doing what we're doing. And let's make sure we support our board rep. Let's give her all the tools she needs to make sure we are represented. Let's change this narrative internally within our organization. And let's increase the success of the narrative in the imprint that Regina Taylor has made across this country, in her whole, every character she's chose to portray, and every production she's chose to produce, and every documentary she's done. It has always been unapologetically Black. It has been culturally competent. So our next Zoom is going to be coming from, we're going to have the USVI Virgin Islands, and we're going to be talking about the impact to the communicators in the Caribbean. And we're also going to be talking about that elephant in the room, Black men in PR. So looking forward to you guys talking. And you can go ahead and save the chat. We're going to close our call. I'd like to go ahead and put my speaker screen up. And I want to go ahead and capture all of us waving and saying goodbye today. And thank you. And make sure the emails are flying. And please be transparent with your emails. No backdoor conversations. Let's make sure we're all engaged, because each one of us has an answer. So let's start waving now, while I will go ahead and make a shot. Oh, those hands are beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you guys know how to reach me. I'm going to close the call. And so you guys can take off your mutes and say some goodbyes and everything else, because I'm going to be shutting the call off in 2 minutes. So let's start talking.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Regina. It's an honor.
Bye, everybody. Hey, thank you, Terry.
Yeah, I really had a question for her, but
Thanks to all the speakers.
Yes.
thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Regina
We
and
enjoyed
Chelsea.
it.
Thank you,
Yes,
Brother Terry.
Thank you, Miss Regina. Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Sora,
Terry,
how you
thank you
doing?
so
I
much.
need your help.
Remember
Sora,
to follow
Pam.
everyone on LinkedIn.
Linda, we'll be in touch.
I need your support.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Harass Terry if you need any of my info. Just stalk him if you haven't already gotten it.
She's good at stalking. So yeah, let her do that.
If you haven't gotten it already, just stalk him
That's
for
why we
anything
have
you
drinks at the happy hour, because of Linda.
just some
Hey,
enhancing.
To that. I just go
Terry,
and
don't
order
forget
my
my
shirt.
t-shirt.
I won't forget.
Yeah.
We're going to get your pastor to give you
Now,
a
where's
shirt.
my t-shirt, Gary?
I'm not dealing with my pastor. I have nothing to do with that.
Pam, did you try to get a gracious gift box just like 2 days ago?
You did? Yes, I did. But
She wore her t-shirt.
Pam
We
got
go
some.
to that site and fill out the information.
Ma'am, I'm gonna take it out loud. Pam got some, my best gift. She got some Kamala Harris pearls. She got some Zeta Phi Beta blue.
No, I didn't get no pearls.
Yeah, you did.
I have to say, he needs to send everybody a whole new package right now. You need to make us all even.
Oh, well, come on, Linda.
I'll take a new care package.
You guys take care. Goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.